Hey, welcome back, everybody. We have a full-blown episode. Two brothers here. We got Big E and Sammy K on the mic. We're gonna go over the latest Patriots win, and we're also gonna talk about the Celtics and dive a little bit into the Red Sox and Bruins quickly. Big E, how you doing this Monday?
I'm doing pretty well. It's good to be back on a victory Monday after an off week last week with the Patriots sliding a little bit. So it's good to right the ship and get back to our winning ways.
I agree. I agree. I mean, it was you couldn't really ask for anything more of a game. Everything on all pretty much all facets were kind of on the go. I mean, the only thing that I really noted that was really bad on the game was they were 2 for 2 with 2 for 20 yards on penalties, and really that was it. I mean, it was a masterpiece. They pulled Drake in what midway through the third, and we haven't
Yeah.
seen that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that we've seen a lot from the team this year or historically in a while. Because even when Tom was here and they were doing their winning ways, he never wanted to get pulled in any game situation. But I do think like this is the perfect example where Tom Brady probably would have gotten pulled out of this game as well. There's no reason to keep your franchise quarterback in there to pad the stats when he's already got five passing touchdowns and you're already up. I believe they were up five scores at that point. So I
Yeah.
think they pulled him out when it was like was it 35-3? I think it was something
This,
like that.
yeah, and then there was another touchdown scored, and it was just from there. It was game over. I mean, the only green light, really, I should say, for the Jets was, Brees Hall, who's going to be a free agent this upcoming offseason. But that was really it. I mean,
He ripped a nice run for a touchdown, which
mhm.
which certainly there was a good thing for the Jets. That was probably the only good thing that came out of the game. But as from speaking from the defensive side of things, I'm not upset that that one play is the one play that got away. Like it had no bearing on the game. The game was already well out of hand at that point, and they're playing around with not the full complement of starters. And I think really the great thing about the game yesterday, besides the outcome, was it gave guys the opportunity to get some snaps and some playing time and some real action. Where I think Mike Vrabel had some really interesting comments in the post game about how like not every guy gets out there and plays. So the guys who were out there were taking advantage of their opportunities and
Mhm.
doing the most that they could. Shout out to a guy like Efton Chisholm, who unfortunately we heard the day before that Mac Hollins got put on IR, which is going to be a huge loss for this team. And number two receiver on the team, and it does sound like he's eligible to come back in the AFC Championship game, but I'm not so certain that he'll be back with the abdominal issue, which is crappy. But it gave Eftem that opportunity to come in and play, and not only did the Rook play well, he scored a touchdown, and the first catch he made. I saw a lot of green grass there. If he hadn't tripped on his feet, he probably could have gotten a touchdown there and ripped it off for another 40 yards. So I really don't think that there was really anything, again, bad to talk about for the Patriots side of things. I don't want to say it's all rainbows and sunshines here, but there really wasn't anything that you could look at and say, ooh, that was bad. I mean, really, the only thing, if you want to nitpick, is you can talk about the fact that they had a special teams play, the Jets did, where they um,
The
convert a
fake
fake
punt.
punt, and maybe that's the only thing you can look at and say, all right, like that didn't work out well for the Patriots, and we had a
That's
doinked
off.
field goal from Borgalis, or as we like to call him, Aurora Borealis.
Aurea Borealis.
So yeah, maybe a slight nitpick at the special teams, but overall, offense was clicking, defense was clicking, even special teams was clicking. So it's really
Yeah.
hard to sit here and be like, oh, they have a lot to work on after this game.
Yeah. I mean, and again, someone posted something and they were like, "Oh, well, you faced a powerhouse of a team," and it's like, you, as we've talked about in previous episodes, you play the teams that are in front of you. You can't do anything about who is on your schedule. You play who's on your schedule, and you build and you work off that. Are we saying that we're Super Bowl bound or bust? Absolutely not. We're exceeding expectations to what we want. This is what we wanted towards the tail end of the season was growth. Did we expect to be in a position where we were 13-3? Absolutely fucking not. Hell no, I didn't. And we're the biggest homers as far as Boston sports goes. But we're also realists at the same time. So to see them doing what they're doing is absolutely amazing. And I mean, hats off to Drake May, whether he wins the MVP or not. Just the fact that he's in a race with Matthew Stafford as a sophomore, when typically this is where you're seeing a lot of players kind of slump in their sophomore campaign. Drake's doing the complete opposite, and he's kind of rising above. So I love seeing that. I love seeing this kid taking it to a whole new level. He comes from a family of athletes. He's the youngest brother out of, I think, four of them. So he's always gotten dunked on. He's always been beaten. So it's always, he's always had to like kind of climb that mountain, so to speak. And now he's built himself a really, really great base in New England, and the future looks really bright for this kid.
Yeah, and I think yes, I think Matthew Stafford is probably the front runner right now. But
Yeah.
as we're sitting here today, Monday, and the Rams have not played the Monday night game yet. I just want to throw a couple of stats out here, and we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive when the rest of the bros are back later. But one thing, there are a few stats that stand out to me specifically, besides just touchdown, interceptions, and all that stuff. Let's start with passing yards, right? So
4,200 and something.
4,203 for Drake. Matthew Stafford, sitting here today before playing this game, is at 4,179. Okay. But I think about who the receivers are that they're throwing to. You have Matthew Stafford, who's got
Puka
arguably, if he's not
Nakua,
number one, number
Devontae
two,
Adams,
top three with Puka Nakua, and Devontae Adams, who's leading the league in touchdown catches this year. So he's got two
and Kyron
Hall of
Williams is
Famers,
a great back.
and Kyron Williams is a great back. And listen, the Patriots don't have schlubs out there by any means, but they certainly don't have anyone up to the caliber of those two receivers at this juncture on this team. So Drake is doing a lot more with less.
Yeah,
So
and I
that's
also
just
want to add. I also want to add a little bit more fuel to your argument in the fact that Matthew Stafford's been in the league for how long now?
I mean,
10
it's
plus years.
going on like almost 15 at this point. He's
Okay,
he's
okay.
a
So
he's been around.
Drake's doing this in his sophomore campaign, which I find to be way more impressive.
Yep, a few other stats that are a little bit more impressive here as well. So again, Matthew Stafford hasn't played this week. 519 passing attempts. Drake, 474. Right. So imagine Matthew Stafford is going to get at least 20 passing attempts in this next game. He's going to basically have well over 50. It's already almost 50. He's going to have almost 60 to 70 more attempts throwing than Drake does. And Drake's going to have a little bit less passing yards than he's going to have. And yes, he will have less touchdowns. But overall, I think the thing that is most impressive about Drake is the completion percentage. He's doing more with less. He's completing a higher rate of passes. So when you seem to be doing that as a quarterback, that tells me that you are not only efficient, you are accurate, and he's doing this on deep throws too. He's got the longest deep ball in the league. So overall, I think if you look at the complement of players, and if you were to take Drake May and Matthew Stafford and have them swap teams, who's going to have a bigger impact to those teams? And right now, I would say, looking at all things, I would say Drake May is probably the person that I would say deserves to be the MVP. Will he get MVP? Who knows? There's still another week to go and 2 games for Matthew Stafford to go. But I would be shocked if he didn't finish at least 2.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just another stat to throw in there, I did the math on this one myself. He's got 30 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. That essentially means that for every 3.75 touchdowns that the kid throws, he throws a pick. That's wild.
Now, I will say one thing that definitely goes against Drake, and it goes a little bit more towards Stafford, is the number of sacks. Drake has been sacked 47 times this year, where Stafford is 19. But again, a lot of that speaks to the line play and the talent that's around you. So again, I would almost say, in spite of that, Drake is doing more with less.
More impressive. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it only bolsters the argument.
Yeah, and it's gonna bring people here too. That's the other big thing, is that a lot of players now are gonna look and they're gonna say, "Oh, this kid can throw the ball." So that's a big eye opener for me.
I think it's huge, and I think we got a lot of money to spend in the offseason. I think it's $45 million under the cap that they can spend. Will they spend all of it? Probably not, because they spent a lot this offseason, but they should be willing to invest in continue to build around this team.
Well, too.
Yep. But I do think two players that I just think we should also touch on too before we bounce on and move on from the Patriots to go around the league is number one. I've been very critical of this player all year and going back more than this year as well. But you got to give your hat off to Ramondre Stevenson. Had a hell of a game. Ran all over, caught the balls. Really, Trayvon Henderson was questionable going in because of the concussion, and he did end up playing and end up playing decent as well. But Ramondre is really kind of coming on at the right time. And yeah, unfortunately, he had the turf toe issue. It kept him out earlier in the midpoint of the season. May have been a blessing in disguise for this team in the stretch run if he's going to play like he played yesterday against the Jets. So want to give him his kudos and give him his flowers because of anyone on the pod here has been critical of him. I'm probably the leader of the clubhouse.
Yeah, and you say that when our leading running back was Travion Henderson with 19 carries for 82 yards. So, I mean, again, Ramondre with a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. You have Austin Hooper with a receiving touchdown. You have Stephon Diggs with a receiving touchdown. You have Efton Chisholm Jr. with the receiving touchdown. Drake's spreading the
Kyle
ball
Williams
to
too.
different people. Kyle Williams. So, the, the ball is being spread to different people, and that's what you want to see. And like I keep going back to the sophomore thing. It's like you don't typically see this out of sophomore quarterbacks where they're able to just kind of throw to whomever they can. And I mean, not only that, but he's also reading the coverages. He's reading breaks in the coverages, and he's throwing to the open guy and creating his own plays. So I mean, that in itself is it really is beautiful to see. At first I didn't want to say that, out on the pod, that it was a mirage and maybe this was like an aberration and just a one-off kind of a thing. I honestly 100% think that this kid is the legitimate real deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's the real deal. And, he may end up being the best quarterback that was taken in that draft at number 3. And that's no
Mm-hmm.
shade towards Caleb Williams or Jane Daniels. Jane Daniels had a great rookie year, but, some of the things that people were concerned about with him was, his frame. And that certainly led to a couple injuries this year. And I do want to give Caleb Williams his flowers because I do think he really, like Drake, has blossomed a lot in his second year, but he also, got a great head coach to come in, and I would arguably say he's got a better collection of talent around him on the offensive side of the ball than Drake
Mm-hmm.
does. At least
I
going
agree.
into the year, that was indisputable. Now it might be a lot closer than people than it was going into the year, but in general, like good for Caleb Williams as well. And I think there's a common theme with those two teams that were teams that were not good last year, brought in two new head coaches to play with these second year quarterbacks, and they have both performed a worst to first turnaround in their division. So some interesting parallels with those two guys. But at the end of the day, if I had my choice between the two quarterbacks, I'm sticking with Drake, and I don't even think it's close.
I agree. I 100% agree. He's a pocket quarterback, and that's kind of what you want nowadays. This with the game being so fast and uh, players getting bigger and faster and quicker. It's just you don't really want a guy moving that much. You want him to move when he needs to move and not all the time. You don't want to build your offense around throwing play designs in that your quarterback can run. So that's kind of my take on it too.
Awesome. All right, sick. And then the other player that I wanted to touch on because I feel like we can't talk about this game and not talk about this player, but Stephon Diggs,
Hmm.
again, really down in the receiving corps, and yes, the rookie stepped up. Kyle Williams, Efton Chisholm, nice to see them make some nice contributions. But Stephon Diggs really led the way. He did most of his damage mostly in the first half, but 6 receptions, 101 yards, touchdown ho hum. Nice for him to get some incentives. I think there was a $500,000 incentive that he hit in the game. So big game from him. I expect big things from him in the playoffs. So
Big catch in
hopefully,
the first too.
yeah, big catch in the first, huge
Huge
catch in the
catch.
first.
Huge
And I
catch.
think and I think we'll end up seeing him be one of those guys that we're going to keep drives alive. What we've seen from him all year is only going to be increased going into the playoffs without, Matt Collins and some of these other guys that have been put on the shelf. So, really happy that we have Stephon Diggs here, and he looks like his pre ACL injury at this point. So, great to see him back to full speed, back to full health, and glad that the guy got a little extra cheddar yesterday with that performance.
Agreed, deservedly so, especially with what he's done for the team as far as a chemistry standpoint. But really, just kind of quickly going across the NFL as a whole, some games I just kind of want to touch on. Big games: Broncos 13-3 at the Chiefs. They take down the Chiefs 20-13. Texans 11-5 at the Chargers. The Texans take down the Chargers 20-16. We have the Jaguars at the Colts, another big game. 23-17 Jaguars. Seahawks at Panthers 27-10 Seahawks. Biggest game arguably for us as Patriot fans this week was Eagles at Bills. I'm not sure if you watched that game, Biggie. We'll talk about it in a hot second, but 13-12 there. Really quickly, Bears at San Francisco, 42-38 San Fran. And then again, as you alluded to earlier tonight, we have the Rams and Atlanta Falcons. Let's just talk about that Eagles and Buffalo game really quick. That was just like
slog. Terrible weather.
I was on the edge of my seat for that last play. I mean, that was literally the AFC East right there for us as Pats fans.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I think I understand the call to want to go for 2 and win the game. But I think in retrospect, do you think Sean McDermott or Sean McVay? Yeah, Sean McDermott.
Sean McDermott. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I get him and McVay mixed up sometimes. It's the McDermott McVay thing. Do you think that there's some second guessing there where they would have rather gone for the kick and gone to overtime? Because it didn't seem like either team was really moving the ball well, and it was a slog fest out there. And I understand, yes, you want to trust in your offense, but Josh Allen's really banged up right now. He's got a foot issue that he injured the following week. It didn't really seem like the receivers were really doing much. Yes, he had Dawson Knox to be able to throw to, but it seemed like from just the game yesterday, A.J. Brown was the only receiver that actually was somewhat competent in the game. Even the running backs were not doing great. And so part of me just kind of thinks, hey, if I'm Sean McDermott here, I kick this and I go to overtime. And even if we don't win, I'm at least a little bit more at peace with that because we're going to have an opportunity to, answer back and try and score. So for me, unless they were just trying to say, we don't want these guys on the field any longer because we feel like it's an injury risk, let's try and end this now. I definitely have some second guessing about how that game went down if I was a Bills fan.
Very questionable coaching. I'm not 100% sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they tried to go for 2 on the touchdown prior to that.
They did, and they failed on that as well.
Missed it. So I think that led to them ultimately having to go for, because I mean, if you think about it, if they just kicked the field goal, they would have won the game by a point. So again, if you're a Bills fan, really, really questionable calls, some questionable coaching. As a Bills fan, you gotta kind of be worried that the Patriots are starting to come back up on the rise again, and the Bills only had for 3-4 years of reign there, so that to me is nice to see at least.
And we got some interesting scenarios being played out for next week as well, because even though Buffalo is 11-5 and have better records than some of the other teams that are currently ahead of them in the standings a little bit, they right now I believe are the 7 seed, and if all things were to end today, they would be coming to Gillette to come play here, which I think as a Patriots fan, I don't necessarily know that I love that I want to play the Bills in the first round. And it's not that I don't want to face the Bills. It's just I just would prefer not to face them in the first round. Personally, I would rather face them a little bit later in the playoffs, whether that's round 2 or the AFC Championship game. Just because I do think, looking at everyone that's left in the AFC, they are the team that I think is the biggest challenge for the Patriots to overcome. And that's no disrespect to the other teams that are out there. I think the Texans are a tough team, and same thing with the Broncos. The Chargers, I feel like, can be beat. I'm not super afraid of the Jaguars. I think that they can also be beat as well. They are a good team, so I'm certainly not going to discount them. And shout out to our boy from Warwick, Liam Cohen, and also a member of the tribe. So very much in the discussion for Coach of the Year conversation with Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson as well. But yeah, I really don't see anyone that scares me besides Buffalo and realistically maybe the Texans and Broncos. And I think the
Yeah.
Broncos don't fear me as much if they come to Gillette and we don't have to go to Mile High.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% too. And really, like you said, the biggest team for me is just that front seven for the Texans is what really scares me the most. Again, it takes one guy to really make or break that front seven, and that was one thing that had me scared shitless with the Chiefs kind of still lingering around, although they're not lingering around anymore. Chris Johnson that guy is a game changer, and um, our offensive line is kind of, I don't want to say questionable, but that was the biggest question mark kind of coming into the season. So it would be nice to face someone not with, I don't want to say an easy front seven because there's no such thing as an easy front seven in the playoffs. You're playing all great teams. But you know, the if we could take on the lesser ranked ones than uh the ones that are out there now on paper, I would prefer that.
Yeah, and I think just I know we're going to wrap up talking about the around the league here right now, but there are some interesting games that are coming up next week. We'll talk a little bit about the Pats ahead, but a lot of interesting seeding scenarios across the league. There's a really interesting game. There's two interesting games on Saturday next week with the Bucks and Carolina. That's basically for the division. So as long as whoever walks away with that game basically is in the playoffs, and whoever doesn't win goes home. So we have a one-game playoff on Saturday afternoon at 4:30, and then the Saturday night game is really interesting as well because that's for the division and the number one seed. Because San Francisco put just Brock Purdy's been playing out of his mind the last 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and they're on a 5-game win streak at this point. And if they end up taking down Seattle next week, based on their record in the division, they will end up with that number one seed. So really interesting to see that San Francisco team, where I think at one point this year they were 4-4 and really kind of middling. They've really kind of, or maybe it wasn't 4-4. I think they were like certainly a 500 team for the
Mm-hmm.
first couple of weeks of the year, and they really kind of exploded. So interesting to see those, and then obviously the game that I think we're also all interested in about from the AFC side is Baltimore at Pittsburgh Sunday Night
Mm-hmm.
Football for the division. Winner goes to the playoffs, loser goes home. So real interesting stuff ahead.
Agreed. Yeah, no, all those games are going to be fun games to watch. So, and again, I don't know about you, but I actually am a fan of the Saturday games. I know it does take one game away on Sundays, but it kind of fills up the weekend a little bit.
I'm totally cool with it because by the time they do Saturday games, the bye weeks have run their course. So typically there's, a minimum of four
Enough
teams that are
football.
gone. And those four teams that are gone equal 2 games on the schedule. So it ends up working out great. No real concern there. But if we want to talk about a team that's having a lot of fun, I think it's a good segue to talk about the team in green and talk a little bit about the week that was for them. Sam, you want to lead us a little bit about where we are record wise and kind of
Yeah,
where we are, and then we can recap the last couple games.
definitely. This week we went 2-1. We're 19-12, second in the Atlantic, 3 games behind the New York Knickerbockers, and 4.5 games behind the league leading Detroit Pistons. Who would have ever thought that we would be saying that? But yes, they are. We're back in the early '90s, or what is it? Yeah, mid '90s, right around there.
2004,
2004. Yeah, the
the Ben Wallace
nasty
team,
Detroit.
Rip,
Yeah, that
Rip, Rip
nasty Detroit
Hamilton,
Pistons. Yeah.
Torian Prince.
So
Like they were a good team back then.
they're back. I mean, this
Kate
team
Cunningham,
is, yeah, Kate Cunningham's. I mean, the only one that's really
nasty.
been able to lock him down really is on. And honestly, I'm not trying to be a Celtics homer, but is literally Jordan Walsh was the only guy. But anyways, yeah, I mean the Celtics. It's what more can you say? They're far exceeding expectations. They have their top player out. I believe Jaylen Brown has tied Larry Bird, or is
I think he exceeded him.
um I think he exceeded him for most 30-point games consecutively. Went out for another, I think the game of tying him, he went out and scored another 37 against Portland to, I think, take over that rank. But that's really the week that was. I mean, the week that was Jalen Brown with a little bit of Hugo Gonzalez mixed in. He's an exciting rookie to watch. He's all over the floor. He's not going to excite you with points right away, but the kid picked up 11 rebounds, and he's always a plus when he's on the floor. You can always look at the stat sheet and see that he's impacting the games in ways that's going to win the games for the team. So, in my eyes, that's kind of what I look at. Just that game against Indianapolis on Monday, he was a plus 21 on the floor. Went 6 points for 11 rebounds. That means the kid was all over the place. So I mean, he is I saw a funny, what is it called? Meme, whatever you want to call it, or a picture. And it was like, Leon Poe into, Avery Bradley into Marcus Smart into
Oh,
Jordan Walsh into
I
like
saw that.
Hugo
Yeah.
Gonzalez. And it's just like, it really is like the grit that kid plays with is just great to see.
Yeah, they just have a knack for finding like these defensive minded guards, and that like their defense dictates how they end up playing. And I always like to think like when you play good defense, the offense will come, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you just play good offense and you don't play defense, like you're gonna end up having a negative plus minus, and you're gonna be a negative player. If you play great defense and you're not scoring, you're a positive player because what you're doing on the court is positively impacting not just what you're doing against your defender, but what the team is doing against the other team. So great for Hugo. And I think the thing about that game that was really interesting against that game against Indy is they were down like almost 20 in the third quarter. And
Mm-hmm.
Joe Mazzulla says, you want to what? Starters, get out of here. We're pulling you guys. Bench guys, you guys are in. And the thing that I loved
They
about
pull
that
it
move
off.
is the bench guys really kind of made it a game and made it really tight. So by the time, there were, I think, like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the starters came back in, and it was kind of a nice mix of starters and bench guys to kind of close out the game. And it was really impressive that the bench, and yes, Indiana is certainly not one of the best teams in the league. They're down their best player and Tyrese Halliburton, but still they still have Pascal Siakam. They still have Neesmith. They still have Nemhard. They still have
Mm-hmm.
good players. So despite their record, like the team could have easily said, we're going to lose this one. They fought and they clawed back. And to me, that is the heart of a champion, and something that while this team may not be championship material this year, that's exactly the attitude that they need to have going forwards this season and future seasons to make sure that they are in a position to win a championship when it does come, push comes to shove.
Yeah. And, to kind of just reflect on, what it can look like for the Celtics moving forward. As far as the playoffs go, I mean, you're looking at Detroit, you're looking at New York. Those are the kind of the two big teams that you kind of have to go through in the East. Otherwise, it's pretty much wide open. And as far as New York goes, I mean, they're Max, I love you to death and stuff, but they're really a team that thrives on that home court advantage and playing off that energy. And the Celtics being such a good road team, I can easily see them stealing a game and then stealing home court advantage from the Knicks and taking the Knicks down in 5 or 6 games. And again, I'm not trying to be a homer. It's just I've seen the Celtics do that. They just, you you don't know what you're going to get out of them, and the playoffs start and it's an away game and they blow them out, and it's like, what the hell do we have here? And it's, that was the start of Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum kind of coming to fruition, and what these guys actually are. So that's what I'm hoping for in my eyes.
I kind of feel like it's the reverse of last season with us and the Knicks. The Knicks were kind of playing with house money. Obviously they were, they acquired some really good players before the year with Karl Anthony Towns and with Bridges as well. So they brought in a lot of talent last year, but no one was like, oh, they're championship, material. Celtics were reigning champs, and everyone thought that they were going to go through them. Now the expectations have changed. Now everyone's like,
because
oh, the Knicks this is their year, but the Celtics are
because
going to be
Tatum
bringing
went
back.
down.
But the Celtics are going to have Tatum coming back at some point. No one expected that we were going to be contenders this year, so it's almost like the script has reversed from last year to where we are now. And I feel so much better going up against the Knicks in the playoffs than where I was feeling in Game 4 and Game 5 last year. So I would say, obviously a lot to go between now and then in the playoffs, but New York, bring it.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing too, is also like last year was a completely different team. Different team chemistry. We had issues going on with Porzingis that we didn't know what was going on. I think there was something going on with Drew Holiday where he was injured as well. So it's a new team as well, and that's what's exciting. That's what excites me. And not only is it a new team, but it's also a young team where guys are actually being thrusted into positions where they have to perform because Jason Tatum is down. So, that means that Jaylen Brown's got to be your 1A. So that means someone's got to step up to be your 2 and your 3 and your 4 and so on and so forth. So, I just like seeing a lot of these guys, being able to go off just like Sam Hauser did in the game on Friday against Indianapolis. Who was it? Yeah. I mean, was it him?
7 of 8 from three. So
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It looked like Derek White also poured in 21, and Jaylen Brown, doing his ho hum consecutive thing, another 30-point
Yeah.
game for him. So I think that game was great in a whole different way than the Monday game because it was a complete shellacking from start to finish. But I
Mm-hmm.
think really interesting. Obviously we don't see a lot of home and homes in the NBA, so it was a little home and home around the holiday for the Celtics and the Pacers. Two different games, same result. Ultimately, told us a lot about the team, and then there was last night's game against Portland that ultimately we came up a little bit short. Still some positives though. I think you and I were talking a little bit about this one before we started recording, and one thing that we talked about is going into this year, we expected to drop games, and we didn't think that we were going to necessarily be a top 3, top 4 team in the conference. Yeah, could we have been? Sure, but I think there was a lot of question marks going in. Now the team is performing so well that it's disappointing when they lose games like the game they lost against Portland last night. And I think that says everything. As much as I'm upset with the loss that we had, I'm excited about the team. I'm excited about where we're going. Panic meter is down to a 1 or 2, and it will be a 0 once Tatum comes back. So yes, are there still things that this roster needs? We can talk about those ad nauseum. They need another big man to go with Kata and to help solidify the front court. But overall, as a Celtics fan, you can't be anything but pleased with how this team has played this year. How Jaylen Brown has played as an alpha, as the number one. He's clearly a 1A player. How Hugo Gonzalez has looked as a rookie. How Jordan Walsh has made that jump in year 3. And we can talk about a number of other things. How they found guys like Josh Banott, Luke Garza. Just a lot to look forward to. And Jason Tatum hasn't played a minute yet.
Yeah, and he's looking better and better as we get these little tidbits on Instagram from, the Celtics media team kind of teasing his rehabilitation. So it's all great stuff to see.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to get the bull gang up and going and switch over the court to the ice and just talk a little bit about the Boston Bruins and kind of what's transpired for them over the last week. Also, a holiday break, so they didn't have a huge number of games. They did lose to our hated rival, the Canadians. Got shellacked by them 6-2, and then they also dropped one to, I believe, was it Ottawa, or is that before that? Let me just double check here. But basically went 0-2 in the last week. So definitely not a great. It was to the Sabres, excuse me. They lost to the Sabres 4-1. So not great over the last 2 games. Letting up 4 goals, only scoring 3. So leads with some of the issues that Gabe was talking about last time, where lack of secondary scoring has not been great. So I think this team has been surprising in a lot of ways, but they've also been a roller coaster. And right now we're on the downslope with a 5-game losing streak. But we got a nice little trip out west to some Canadian teams, so hopefully we can right the ship and get back to our winning ways as we head into 2026.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about being on a downward slope. That perfectly puts us into position to talk about the Red Sox ownership. I mean,
Oof.
they haven't done anything. It's sad, but that's where we are. And I mean, there's really not much more to talk about it other than sell this team and get someone in here that actually wants to to do something. And it doesn't make sense to me how you could have an organization that's worth so much money and not put money into it. It's just like, the guys you guys have said previously, they just want to fill the seats. And I you won't find me buying a ticket, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think my issue with them is I don't mind the fact that they're making acquisitions via trades, and that's worked out really well for them over the last 2 or 3 years or so. I think the issue is like, and I feel like this is and like this will sound wild to you, but I think this goes back to Carl Crawford and Pablo Sandoval. Like, I think
They're
it literally
scared.
starts with those two guys that they dropped a lot of money on these guys and they completely backfired, and it's really made them like not open to spending any money in the free agency market. And listen, you can do everything that you want through trade acquisitions. You are not going to be able to put together a winner if you don't sign any players for your roster. So yes, there's still hope that they can re-sign Alex Bregman and bring him back. There's hope that they'll sign Bo Bichette if they lose out on Alex Bregman. But if they don't end up with one of those two guys, like, fans should riot.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's ridiculous to say at this point.
No, no. And that's chatter on the streets is Bregman's going to come back. He's going to end up signing, you know, closer to the spring training, which, I mean, again, if these guys do that, that's, me personally, if I was a major league player, just the way that I live, I would want those types of things done and said with, you know, before the holidays, just so I can kind of have that reassurance and peace of mind. But really, these guys, they don't need the team to, back in the day, you thought the team had your best interest, but now they really don't have your best interest. And as long as you're ready to go for the season as a professional athlete, it doesn't really matter when you sign. I mean,
It's
okay,
okay though. It's okay, Sam. They got their Liverpool investment, they got their NASCAR investment, and they're moving away from hockey. So yeah, it's okay. They're just going to reinvest in Liverpool and those other things. So
great.
yeah, John Henry,
Yeah,
get out
like,
of here,
but see,
sell the team.
but the one thing about free agency in sports is I feel like with at least with baseball, there's not like you you're not really building this. I mean, yeah, you're building this team chemistry, but it's a different kind of team chemistry. Whereas on the football field, on the gridiron or on the parquet, or on the ice, it's a completely different kind of team chemistry that you're building because you're kind of working together as a cohesive unit to get something done. Not to say that that's not the case with baseball, but it's baseball is just played much more differently, where you're you're not really sure who's going to make that play. It kind of just happens.
I think my last gripe with them is, and I think like this is something I would say to their credit is they've locked up a lot of their young players or younger core at great value going
Mhm.
forwards. If you want to maximize that core, it's going to be about spending money to go and
Now,
augment the core, right? So it's great that they lock these guys on up and they're all below market deals. Now spend the above market or market value to help those players and the rest of the roster. You can do it,
yeah,
Breslow. You can do it, John Henry. I believe in you.
yeah, and it's more John Henry, and it's then the last thing that I'll touch on is that's the thing. It's just overpay and get it done with. Just do it because you're gonna do it anyways. So why waste all this time? And the reason I say that is because now you're just telling other players that you as an organization are going to put up a fight to sign you. And again, if I was a player, not saying that I'm a professional athlete, but if I heard that this team gives you more shit than another team does, path of least resistance, and that goes for anybody. So that's what scares me in the long run, is if the Red Sox don't spend money right away, is it going to scare other players in the future to not come here?
I'm thinking in the back of my mind right now. I'm like thinking of a campaign that if they don't spend any money in free agency, that we start a campaign not to go to the games because I think people will still want to go. It's nice out. I want people to not buy any beer if they go because for the prices that they charge for those things, for the amount of money that they're not willing to spend, let's hit them in their wallet so they can actually see what the impact of not spending money feels like, because they won't make money that way. So
at the
yeah, I know
concession. Yeah.
that's a tall task, and we're certainly not going to get everyone that will not abide by it. But we'll just try and work with people to get all lubed up before they go into the games.
Here's a great trick for you folks. Wear a plain white tee, throw on a jersey, get a drawstring backpack, and throw some nips in that bad boy. You'll be good to go.
You heard it
Saw
here
it
from an
happen a couple
expert.
times. Saw it happen a couple times.
He knows a thing or two about
Maybe
what he's
might have
talking
done
about.
it.
No, 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 no. He's an angel. He would never do that.
I would never. I would never sneak into Fenway.
Never. No, 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 no. We would never do anything like that. Okay. So no. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, this week we're going to take a little bit of a week off. So I think it's time to park the car. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on down the pike. So
Exactly. We got the last game of the season for the Patriots going up against our foes, the Miami Dolphins, at 4:25 at Gillette Stadium. Fans, anyone listening that's going, get lubed up, get loud, get crazy, get behind this team, get them pushed into the playoffs.
I think the Bros might have to try and get a road game to Miami, especially if it's going to be in January in the future. On our bingo cards, I think that might be a nice time for us to get out of New England. So we're gonna remember this one for the next couple of years to hopefully
Rates are getting lower.
make a pilgrimage out there.
Agreed.
So we got that game, and it's also great. It's a 4:25 game. Not many games that were not at 1 o'clock this year for the Patriots. So nice for them to end the season with a late afternoon game. And then for the Celtics are out west. We're shipping them out west this week.
Get
So
out.
they are going out to play Utah tomorrow, Tuesday, the 30th. They are going to be playing the Sacramento King on New Year's Day at 10 o'clock. And then rounding on out the trip, they are going to play the Clippers on Saturday and the Bulls next Monday. Also, with a little bit of a trip out west, we got the Boston Bruins who are playing Edmonton Oilers on New Year's Eve out in Edmonton, and then are playing the Vancouver Canucks on Saturday, the 3rd, at 10 p.m. And then any news going on with the Red Sox win struck day?
4 to 5 weeks. First, second week of February. It hasn't been officially decided quite yet, but
Hopefully they make some
I
moves
might
between
be
now
out
and
there.
then. Otherwise, we might be rioting.
I got a gift card to the Kaku, so maybe I might make a pilgrimage out to go see the truck
Hey,
go.
don't let them turn down your flame. Don't ever let them turn down your flame.
No, no, and we don't count plates. We count what is it? Grill, uh, grill covers.
Hey, Mr. Strongman is ready to go with you whenever you need an extra. So
I,
just let a
I'm
brother
always
know, and
down
I'll
to
be
go,
there.
man. I'm always down. Get me like a consistent that spicy cucumber salad coming. That
Oh yeah,
consistent
that's spicy.
garlic edamame coming.
Just don't give me any broken glasses, because or
Nah,
don't they might think that I'm breaking them, but no, the
don't
glasses
be
was
too
broken.
strong. Don't be too
I
strong.
can't help it. I can't help it. It's a problem. But hey, near or far, wherever you are, thank you guys all for joining and listening on in. We'll be back with the full complement of the crew next week. But I hope everyone has a fun, safe, and healthy and happy New Year's.
Yeah, happy holidays, everybody. Go Pats, AFC champs. Once again,
Let's go.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We will see you all next week.